glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought up, the leadership aspect of Jalen Hurts, because I've been racking my brain for the last week of trying to figure out why people aren't believing in the Lions as much as perhaps I am, or Kool-Aid. Nobody could believe in him more than Kool-Aid, not even Sheila. But
Steak is close.
Yeah, but I truly believe it's because of Jared Goff. I mean, I know what people are saying. We had Dave Burkett on yesterday. We had some. It was a really good segment. In case you missed any of it, go back and try to find it because it was really good. We talked about the coordinators. He mentioned the interior part of the offensive line. I think the quiet part that needs to be said out loud, and it's not that you and I feel this way because I'm in belief of him, but I think the quiet part that needs to be said out loud is people just don't believe in Jared Goff. And I'm talking about nationally. I think Lions fans do. I think most of the media does. I know that locker room does, and I know that coaching staff does. There is no doubt about it. And that's all, as you as an NFL player would need to know this more than anybody, or do know this better than anybody. That's all you care about. You don't give a crap what I think, what Kool-Aid thinks, what Ryan thinks. You care about what your teammates and your coaches think. With Jared Goff, I think there's a lot of doubt for people. And I'm wondering where that stems from. Just based on last year's game or what?
No, I want to get you in on this one, but I don't think they ever truly fully believed in Jared Goff. If you're talking about the outside world, I don't think they ever believed in Goff. I think how the situation played out in Los Angeles, you can blame whoever you want to blame. We're just talking about facts. How it played out, Sean McVay in the middle of the night, making a move in Cabo, bringing in Matt Stafford. Now here comes Jared Goff. Jared Goff's here. People no longer believe in him. You look at what the score of that Super Bowl was. You said there's only one person that gets the credit, win or lose. So that ugly Super Bowl that you saw, which, by the way, thank you for wasting my time. That ugly Super Bowl you saw, it was 10-3, where the only play in that game was a Rob Gronkowski catch for 47 yards towards the end of the game. That was Jared Goff. That's how they view Jared Goff. They forgot about the Jared Goff in 2017 that beat Patrick Mahomes in the Monday Night Showdown. That was supposed to be overseas. So he gets shipped here. And then you see it goes kind of decent. Then he starts to pick up steam, makes the Pro Bowl in 23. You still don't necessarily believe in him. He's still the same old Jared Goff. But he has his genius, Ben Johnson. And then last year, you start to believe in him if you're the outside world. Even though he had the 5 interceptions against the Texans, you're still like, no, he's still found a way to win. He's finding ways to win. You look at the efficiency. He has more touchdowns than Patrick Mahomes over the past 3 years. Man, maybe we need to give this guy a chance. Here's 5 turnovers against the Washington Commanders. Against and when you had home field advantage, when it was 15-2 season for you, whether it's fair or not, fair is irrelevant.
No, you're right.
Like that's the lasting memory of Jared Goff. When you're someone that people don't like, or people have already wrote an opinion of, it takes so much for you to be able to change their mind.
It's almost impossible.
It's almost impossible. And when you get people to a point where now it's like, I'm about to change my 5 turnovers.
Yeah, right. You and I have both lived that, okay? You on the field, me in the booth. I get it, all right? Yeah. What I've said, my son was watching the show yesterday, and he said, Dad, Braylon brought up some really good points about the 5 interception game against Houston. I said, yeah, but the next week, what did he do? He went out and led them to a blowout win over Jacksonville. My son says, it's just Jacksonville. I said, okay, how about Buffalo? In a loss, how come we're not talking about Jared Goff, 496 yards and 5 touchdowns, no picks? We're not, because it's a loss, right? But those were his numbers against a really good Buffalo team.
What did those numbers look like when it was still a fight? And that's the only thing I would say about
that. Well, I think that game was pretty much up and down. I mean, that was a pretty good fight.
Buffalo owned that game from start to finish.
Yeah, if you say
you say it was a fight, Shep, you're being biased. Buffalo dominated that game.
Yes, they did offensively.
And exactly, offensively. Detroit had some chances, but they blew them early. Yeah. And by the time Jared really started putting up those numbers into the third quarter, the whole fourth quarter, the game is already, in my opinion, done. So 496, hell of a game, but it's a skewed image, in my opinion.
Copy. I do believe, though, a lot of people look at him and say, I always wonder this. He gets to a Super Bowl, and I'm not comparing him to guys like Dan Marino, so please don't take it that way. Dan Marino is one of the all-time greatest passers in league history.
I wish he would have won a Super Bowl.
Joe Montana said he's the best he's ever seen. Okay, that resonates with me. When you tell me a certain wide receiver is the best they ever seen, it means more to me than if Ryan tells me that. With all due respect to Ryan, okay, because it's hard to impress. It's really it's really hard to impress guys who've done it at the highest level. Okay, Dan Marino went to 1 Super Bowl.
Yeah, year 2.
Huh?
Year 2.
Yeah, Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for that. That doesn't mean he's better than Josh Allen, who hasn't been. Doesn't mean he's better than Lamar Jackson, who hasn't been. But that's got to hold some credence, doesn't it?
It does. What it says right now, and until he proves it differently, it says that if I have the right situation, if I have the right players, and you put me in the right space, oh yeah, I'm a number one quarterback. I can do it. Like, you give me Todd Gurley, who still is 5th in touchdowns in the last 15 years, and I don't know how long he's played, how long it's been since he played his last game. You give me Todd Gurley and Sean McVay, we can figure some things out. You give me Jahmyr Gibbs and this offense that they had the last 2 years, and Ben Johnson, we figured it out. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what he is. You give him an offensive line, which they had with Andrew Wentworth. You give him some players. He can cook. But he could cook with the best of them, but he's not closing that door. He doesn't have that game to where you're like, all right, you don't need to be in the perfect place with the perfect coach and perfect offensive coordinator. You actually can make things happen as well.
Is there a quarterback who's won a Super Bowl that hasn't had a strong supporting cast or coaching?
Everyone's had a strong supporting cast.
Exactly.
Everyone has.
So why would we hold it against Jared Goff and bring up Todd Gurley? We don't bring up Jerry Rice or Joe Montana. We don't bring up
because Joe Montana made that pass against the Dallas Cowboys when he found Dwight Clark.
Yeah.
Like that, obviously that was an amazing catch by Dwight Clark. That catch was flawless. That pass, that effort, that little bit of extra to roll to the right sideline, give him just a little jab, and then put it in a place where only Dallas Clark can catch it.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you start to say, we know you had John Taylor, we know you had Roger Craig, we know you had Jerry Rice, but damn it, that's something.
Yeah. So that's a great point. There are certain moments in athletes' careers that stand out.
For whatever you want to say about Eli Manning. That pass that he throws to, not to David Tyree.
No.
Like, luck is luck. The pass he threw to Mario Manningham on the sideline is one of the greatest passes I have ever seen in my life.
Yes.
Everything you say about him in the regular season is true. But when you talk about the playoffs and that Super Bowl, please don't forget that throw.
Amen to that. Because, look, you can say what you want about that dude. He won 2 Super Bowls. He was MVP for both of them.
Nonchalantly.
Okay? There's something to be said for that. I mean, we can, like you started the conversation. It's hard to change people's minds. I agree 100%. Doesn't matter if it's sports or whatever. But with Jared Goff, I think he's got to change some national narrative here. People's minds. Not people in Detroit. I think they believe in him. But he's got to change some people's minds. And perhaps that's what the Lions have to do in general, too. Maybe that is why people are jumping off the proverbial bandwagon and considering just the last 2 years their best shot. Don't get why you would consider the last year their best shot when they were besieged by injuries. But that's what a lot of people are saying.
Go ahead, Kool-Aid.
No, I was just going to say, I take a lot of stock into what the conversation is, and it's good conversation right now. Shout out to the chat, man. Definitely go ahead and smash that like button.
Smash the like button, ladies and gentlemen.
Shep, you brought up a good point there. What team hasn't had this? And when you look at them shipping out Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford, for all the talent that Matthew Stafford has, the Rams still felt the need to go and put more around him than I thought that they even put around Jared Goff, who got them to a Super Bowl. Sometimes I do wonder, if you go out there and you do some of these tweaks around Jared Goff, do you still go out there and win that Super Bowl? And that's where I do believe the question is this. Until Stafford won a Super Bowl, for as talented as we knew he was, because we went to bat for Stafford. It didn't matter. We knew
without question.
Not until he won that Super Bowl. Until now, it doesn't matter what he is after. Even if he misses games, you don't hear any stat Padford. You don't hear any. He's injury prone. He's a champion.
Well, that was a moron who played linebacker named Zach Follett. He was just an absolute idiot.
But also,
absolute idiot.
And that's where I do believe that for the Lions and for Jared Goff, they're both entering into an era where you got to win that Super Bowl. That's where I believe all narrative goes away, no matter how talented you are. Jared Goff does find himself at the top of these rankings at the end of every single season. But I believe it resets.
Yeah,
why? Because
to Braylon's point, it's a good one. When I say Jim Kelly, what do you think of?
4 losses.
Right. When I think of Fran when I say Fran Tarkenton, what do you think of?
I never got it done.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where it is. It's so hard to get there.
Meanwhile,
we can't even imagine.
Meanwhile, quarterbacks that aren't as good as them, they get Super Bowl or Super Bowl win. It's like, oh man, like you can't tell me that Bart Starr is better than Fran Tarkenton.
Yeah, Bart Starr's pretty damn good. I didn't watch him, but his numbers are impressive. His film's pretty good. Yeah, Fran Tarkenton was unique. There's no question. I loved watching Fran Tarkenton. I loved to watch him at Georgia, and I loved watching him with the Vikings, who happened to be one of my
college?
Well, I watched film of them. Yeah,
Okay, I'm about to
I
say.
saw some. I saw a few documentaries and I watched some film of them because I really, when I was a kid, I loved Fran Tarkenton.
I thought your birth certificate was gonna say 40s or 50s.
No. I definitely.
Say,
It wasn't. It wasn't live, and it
Pass that birth
wasn't. Besides,
certificate.
they also didn't have that stuff on TV. But if you watch some documentaries, is what
True.
I'm referring to. Loved watching him while he was in college, run around. Look, Archie Manning was unbelievable at Ole Miss.
He just played for the Aints.
And he played for the Aints, right?
Yeah.
And I guess my point is, it's so hard. You've talked to us off air about this. It's so hard to win every single week. Getting to a Super Bowl. I mean, Brett Favre's got one. Everybody, and
been
he's
to back to back, only won one.
Yeah, but only one. Aaron Rodgers has one. Man, I mean, it's.
But there are quarterbacks that have like this type of persona where it's unfair that they didn't win. Who's a better quarterback in your opinion, Phillip Rivers or Jared Goff?
Yeah, Phillip Rivers.
But I'm just saying, but Phil's another one of those guys. Because he didn't win the Super Bowl, because he didn't have the moment in the playoffs, they always came up short. Whether you want to blame LaDainian for not playing or saying he was cold, they always came up short in the big game. Like, legitimately, like, we were a team. I played for the New York Jets in 2009, got traded to the team. We should have made the playoffs. Like, it came down to the last game of the season. We beat the Bengals. Then we go to Cincinnati in the first week of the playoffs. We beat the Bengals. The Chargers were the number 1 seed. Or 2. They were 1 or 2. They were excited. They took us lightly. And they should have. But they shouldn't. And we go in there and we beat them, and it wasn't hard. Like, it was not hard. Phillip Rivers, they told me all this about who Phillip Rivers is. I'm like, hey, who? This guy?
Yeah.
This is it? This is LT?
Yeah. Remember, the Chargers got rid of Drew Brees for Phillip Rivers.
Deservingly so for what they
No,
were
I get
doing.
it. Yeah, I totally get it. But look what Drew Brees became. It's not a knock on Phillip Rivers, but Brees wins the Super Bowl.
True.
Rivers didn't. Brees goes and sets all kinds of records.
Because he got with Sean Payton. He got lucky. At the end of the day, going back to Phillip Rivers, he didn't get that win. He didn't have that moment. So now you don't look at Phillip Rivers for how good he was coming out of North Carolina State. You look at, was it insert player? Because he played with 4 Hall of Fame offensive players.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He played with how many running backs that you can name? You know, it gets to that. If you can't have that moment, if you can't, that Dwight Clark, if you don't get that, if you don't get the win and get lucky, shoot, there's quarterbacks that won, it wasn't because of him, but they won and they can have that. If you don't have that, now we're talking about you like Phillip Rivers. Now we're talking that you fall
Now
into
we're
that.
talking about you like Jared Goff.
Warren Moon.
Well, they're in. Yeah, Warren Moon was phenomenal, but you know
my favorite quarterback.
the loss in Buffalo when he was
Frank Reich.
when Frank Reich beat them, and
That
they
was
were
it.
up massive. It's the largest comeback win in NFL playoff history. Warren Moon was the quarterback for the Houston Oilers at the time. But you bring up something interesting with Phillip Rivers. The number of running backs. Look at the great wide receivers, including the great Antonio Gates, Hall of Famer, Detroiter. Shout out. Go ahead. Shout out.
Yeah,
shout out,
100%.
shout out.
Central High School.
And look at what Jared Goff has had to work with. How many people are out there thinking to themselves, you got a top 5 wide receiver, top 10 for sure, but at least we think top 5. You've got a top 5 running back.
He is top 5.
Okay, you've got a top 5 tight end, and you've got a guy who changes the game with his speed and his ability.
Did you forget about
Jameson
Penei
Williams.
Sewell?
And
Are you talking about
I-
skill players?
correct,
Yeah.
yeah. And then especially the offensive line of a year ago.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's where, as much as it is as a blessing for him,
it's also,
I think a lot of people also use it as a reason on why either A, he's failed for not getting him there, or B, who couldn't else get him there. I'm not saying he's the next, the Jerry Jones stupid comment, 500 coaches could win with this team, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who feel like, you know what, there's a lot of quarterbacks who could go out there and win with this type of talent.
until you win, that's how they talk about you. Look at Jalen Hurts. Like, look at the Super Bowl Jalen Hurts had 4 years ago.
Good example.
Look how
perfect
good that
example.
Super Bowl was. He didn't get any of that credit. It was A.J. Brown. We paid him $200 million to come over from the Tennessee Titans. Devontae Smith, Heisman Trophy winner. Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell. Like, all the backs that they had. And, oh, by the way, still the best offensive line. Nick Sirianni got credit in there. Everyone, Shane Steichen got the credit. Oh, he revived Jalen Hurts' career. Like, that was all you heard. Not so much now. But even now he's got the win, and it's, can he get it done again? Like, certain quarterbacks and certain individuals, they will give the talent all the credit.
Yeah. And that's why it's hard to change people's minds right there, because they had a predetermined belief on how good or how bad he was going to be, or he's just a quote-unquote game manager, which I can't stand. He just can only manage the game. All you got to do is get it to Devontae Smith. All you have to do is get it to A.J. Brown. Who couldn't turn and hand off to Saquon Barkley and watch the best offensive line in football go to work?
Daniel Jones. The only thing you said best offensive line, so kind of negated the comment. They were so upset that Saquon Barkley didn't win MVP. That was an easy conversation. Oh, see, Saquon Barkley won. Not yet. That's why. It's the offensive line, Saquon Barkley. Him not winning, him not having the game, and Jalen having it. Now we got to be a little bit more honest.
I do wonder if he plays the final week and has, remember, they sat him out. If he plays the final week and he breaks the record, if that discussion is changed. Now, Saquon Barkley did finish second, to his point. But you're always going to have debates about who the MVP should be and shouldn't be. I mean, you could bring up 1941 in baseball, and you could see how in the world did Ted Williams, who batted .406, and that included sacrifice flies, as an at-bat.
Politics.
Should have been batting. He would have batted .410 if sacrifice flies didn't count as an at-bat like they do today. He would have batted .410. They gave it to Joe DiMaggio because the Yankees won, and he had a 56-game hitting streak. And yet Ted Williams had all those great numbers that led the league. But so you're right.
But that's tough though, because like DiMaggio deserved it. Like
I would debate that. I think Ted Williams deserved it. Is my point.
Well, I'm saying in terms of what we know the award to be, like he won the World Series, and then he had a streak that still hasn't been broken.
It's voted on before the World Series though. But it's the Yankees, and a lot of that helps.
But that's why I said politics.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I'm supporting your point.
See, if Ted was nicer, if Ted was more personable, this is one thing I know about Ted. Ted wasn't necessarily a personable dude. He was to himself. He wrote his books. He's the best hitter of all time. Ted stayed to himself. They called him to go to war. Ted said, "Look, I'll holler at y'all in 4 years. I got to roll. I got to go do this. Then I'm gonna come back." When you're not personable, when you don't have that persona, when you don't have that jazz, like Joe DiMaggio was out in Times Square wearing suits, dating Marilyn Monroe. Like everybody want a piece of that.
It's the Joe Namath effect. I'll wear sunglasses, no offense, brother, and I'll wear a fur coat. I'll sit by the pool. I'll tell everybody the Jets are going to win, and then I'll go out, lose more games than win, throw more interceptions than touchdowns, and have a 50% completion percentage. We're back with the Braylon Edwards Show. A little bit later on, we will talk about why the NBA can't get this one thing right. I know, it's very strange. It's not strange to call Van Johnson.